Hello, everyone, and welcome along back to the 1 Point Safety Show with myself, Scott Hartley, and my co-host, Scouse Andy Lockhart. How are you doing this week, Andy?
Yeah, not too bad, Paul. Not too bad, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, all right. It seems to have been a bit of a longer week this week. I think work's kicking my ass a little bit, but yeah, we're getting there, mate. We're getting there. It'll soon be Friday and rolling
Like
around.
everyone's, mate. Like everyone's fucking works the shit. Everybody in it. Let's face it.
We're delighted to have another special guest with us this week. We've got Mike Allen on today, who's a long-time supporter of us. We can't thank him highly enough. Always commenting, always putting questions in. Really, really big Washington Commanders fan, Redskins fan, football team fan. And we're just going to do what we did last week with Tony and with Andy Burrows as well. We're just going to ask him his story, get a bit of information on Mike, and go from there. So how are you, Mike? Are you all right? Welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Always, no problem at all. No problem at all. So we'll start off then with the news, and unfortunately we start on a bit of sad news here where we talk about yesterday, Bobby Beathard passed away, long-time GM of the Washington Redskins. He was 86 years old when he passed. Just had a look at his stats here. He was actually a player for the Redskins in 1959. He stayed with us for 2 years and then went on to play for San Diego. And he was GM during the glory days, really. We've never seen that, Scouse. I'm not sure you even look old enough, Mike, either, to have seen them glory days.
I think he was GM.
He was, yeah. So 1978 to 1988, he was with us. Obviously, 4-time Super Bowl champion as well as a GM. He's in our 90 greatest, and he's also in our Ring of Fame. You know, under the Joe Gibbs era, he was the GM there. Drafted 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Oversaw them. Really sad, really, to see him pass. Yes, he obviously had a really good innings, but whenever one of the greats dies, it's quite a sad time. So just a bit of a mark of respect to him, really. Any thoughts on that, Scouse, at all, on watching a great person from the organisation like that go?
I'd say it's just a shame, isn't it? You know, that these guys, unfortunately, we all have to die. We have to go at some point. But yeah, you know, such a true Redskin, a true legend, really. You know, I mean, a legend gets banded about so often, so easily nowadays, and it's like, no, guys who've done it for decades, they're legends. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think he is definitely one of the legends of the Redskins franchise.
So yeah, thoughts and things are with his family, obviously. Yeah, and it's in this sad time. So yeah, the only other news really that we've got is we're still searching there for the offensive coordinator. We've interviewed Anthony Lim, 3-year head coach of the Chargers before. Anthony Lim's been with the 49ers, obviously with the 49ers in the playoffs. We weren't able to speak to him earlier. And it looks like we're still on that search for another
Bring back Scott Turner.
Well, I don't think that would sit very well with Scouse there, Mike, as you know, listening to this show.
Scott Turner.
Well, there you go. Yeah, he's getting looks elsewhere by all accounts. I think he may end up at the Saints. The latest that I've been hearing on the Twitter sphere. But
ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Where to go with it. I'm not sure where to go with it. It does seem I am quite impressed with them looking outside and taking an outside look. I'm hoping this isn't just a smokescreen to promote internally, but we never know. We never know what's going to happen with it. And obviously, big thing this week, Scouse and Mike, about Eric Bieniemy potentially being looked at when the Chiefs finish in the Super Bowl. This week might be the week because the Pro Bowl's on. So I'm not sure if they're going to look to interview him next week, if they've got that permission. But I know they've apparently, according to Ian Rappaport and people like that, they've definitely asked for permission to speak to him. But we're not sure whether that permission's been granted or not. What's your thoughts on that then, Mike? What do you think of Eric Bieniemy coming in? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it'd be good to speak to him, wouldn't it?
I think
it's
so
too. It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. I think that Ron's in his last year, isn't he?
Yeah.
So it's bound to
he
go
will
well.
be. Well, he
will
will
go well.
Yeah. He's technically got 2 years left, technically.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, on his original contract, yeah.
Right, okay.
But you find, obviously, with Dan Snyder going, it might be only 1 more year, so...
Yeah. I mean, I think everything hinges on the ownership, does it?
I mean, I think so. I think it's very difficult. I mean, if you're a any credible offensive coordinator or offensive mind,
Yeah.
We all know you're going to be in high demand.
Yeah.
And why the hell would you pick here? Like, you could say, well, we got some good pieces. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
But in general, if you're a Bieniemy or you're an Anthony Lynn, those guys have got street cred. You know what I mean? So,
why would they bother?
So why would they come here? Exactly, they're going to wait for a better opportunity, unless they've been kind of, like persuaded to know that at the end of the day, this is Ron's last year, and you'll be head coach after that.
Yeah, right.
But that's the only way you're going to get it, and that's highly unlikely someone's going to promise him that, because the new owner's not here yet. So
no,
so it's very unlikely you're going to get one of these big names.
Well, I don't think it's not going to matter probably who we get, because it's chaos, isn't it? And we're not in a good way.
So unfortunately, that's the thing, Mike.
It's about keeping those key players and just hanging in there till an owner comes along. No different. I'm not sure that makes us win 10 games or 4 games. I don't really know.
I mean, I've also heard that Ron wants the person, whoever's going to come in, to basically pick up Scott Turner's playbook.
Oh wow!
It's so complicated, though, isn't it?
But the thing is, though, is that if you're Bieniemy or actually any offensive coordinator, you've got your own playbook, you've got your own style. Yeah. Why would I want to learn Scott Turner's playbook to then say, "Oh yeah, I'll just do this thing"? If you're going to do that, you might as well let Ken Zampese be the offensive coordinator, and let him roll it, because he knows that system already. You might as well just do that and forget the rest. Forget all these interviews for all these other dudes if that's what Ron actually wants somebody to do. Because what's the point in that?
What's the waste of time?
He doesn't want his offense to learn a new offense, considering like that he's got probably 1 year left in the hot seat. You see, that's what I've heard through the grapevine. Doesn't mean that's true, but it's not great.
I think it's just a mess. I just think it's a mess. Until Snyder goes, no one really knows what's going on. I'm not sure how happy Ron can really be, and we've just got to play the season, haven't we?
Yeah, I think Ron came in knowing that was always going to be an issue, and that nobody particularly. I mean, even if we look 3 years ago, before Ron's tenure, nobody actually wanted to really come here unless they were on a massive contract and we overpaid. And the problem we have now going into free agency or going into trying to rebuild this roster, even if we got an offensive coordinator quickly, say with before March and before any ownership meetings that they have when this just after the season starts and free agency starts, we're going to really be up against it trying to either re-sign our players like Daron Payne or Cam Curl, who, and in other news, his dad came out and blew up Twitter a bit by saying Cam wants 80 million over 4 years.
They want paying, but they want to win, don't they?
Of course they do. Yeah. I mean, that's elite talent there in Cam Curl, and I really hope that we do pay him. But the highest paid corner is what, 15.7 million or something?
No, I think it's 19. I think it's
it 19?
James in it. David James in it. But to be fair, I think it's one of them where if you're elite as a player, you got one or two ways of going, haven't you? You either go, I'll take less money because I know I'm going to be a genuine Super Bowl contender.
The Tom Brady
thing. Yeah. And the years ago of the New England discount, all the top players go there cheap because you know that they get a really good chance for a ring.
Yeah,
we're not that team. We're the type of team. So basically, if you want to keep your elite players, when we actually do get some, which is rare anyway, but when we do, we've got to pay them big money because they're not going to want to stay otherwise. It's as simple as that,
Yeah.
So I understand what Cam's dad's talking about. I understand that.
Yeah.
I think it's like any negotiation, though, isn't it? You're going to start high.
Of course you are.
Skins are going to start low, and then they're going to find something in the middle. So I reckon he'll probably be about 15, 16 mil. Personally, I think that's what he'll be on per year. Probably a 4 year deal, maybe 3 to 4 years, depending.
We'll keep some of them. We have got some good players, but I don't think we get the best out of them.
Yeah, well, that's coaching, isn't it? I mean, this is Ron shocking, and when the offensive coordinator, fucking Scott Turner, Joker. So. Yeah, I mean, that's once you sort that out, we'll be okay. We just need some better players on offensive line.
With the quarterback issues last season and Scott Turner calling the plays, we were only a few points away from winning 10 games. We just couldn't get it done. So how can we not be close to winning 12 games if we can get organised? But whether we'll keep the right players, whether we've got the right quarterback.
These guys cost money, don't they, mate? You get what you pay for.
Big time.
At the end of the day, look at our shitty offensive line. Those two guards we brought in, absolute jokers, because they're cheap. They're bottom of the barrel crap.
You've only got to watch the Blind Side film to know that you need a good offensive line. I mean, if you don't protect quarterback, doesn't matter who it is, does it?
Unless you've got someone like Lamar Jackson or someone who's ridiculously fast, you've got no chance because your offensive line, he needs to protect the quarterback. That's what they're there for.
So do we think Sam Howell's going to start because who else is going to come?
Well, like anything, isn't it? I mean, if you trade for somebody, they've got to come, haven't they?
Yeah.
But unless they've got a no trade clause like Carl or something.
Yeah, right. It's going to be interesting. Oh, I can't hear Scott.
Yep, there we go. That's better. Sorry about that. There was one other piece of news that you guys reminded me of there. So thank you for bringing that up, Mike. Appreciate it. Tom Brady retired yesterday. Obviously, he said he's officially done. We'll see when we get to the end of April whether he is officially done. I think last time it lasted 6 weeks or just over 6 weeks. This time, I actually do think he probably is about done now. I think that it's time to hang it up.
This is what I don't understand about Brady. It's like he retired last season and then came out of retirement, lost his wife because of it, and then he retires after one more year. What's that about?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's like a boxer. A lot of sportsmen just cannot retire. One more year, one more fight, one more game.
That's it. Yeah. How many times have we seen that as well? With
do you know what it really is? Do you know what it really is about Tom Brady? He was linked to the Redskins and the Commanders.
So he retired.
They were linked to what you thought. I'm retiring. Yeah. No chance of I going there, bro. If that's the only option I've got, I'm retiring. Yeah.
Maybe that's the case. All right, well, we'll introduce Mark then onto the show. So again, thanks, Mark, for being on with us. We really appreciate you, or Mike even. What am I doing calling you Mark? I'm just useless, honestly.
Words, my friend.
I'm having a nightmare today. So yeah, we've got a few questions we want to ask you, which we ask pretty much everybody when they come onto the show. So how did you start following the Redskins, Washington football team, Commanders, and why did you do that?
Well, so my mum's Canadian. That means we've got Canadian-American relatives. Summer of 83, family reunion. Turn up, 10 years old. Her brother lives in Maryland.
All right.
Brings me a T-shirt because they just won the Super Bowl. So this T-shirt, I was 10 years old. This T-shirt would probably fit me now. It was massive, but just a family reunion thing. And John Riggins had run all over Miami. I came back with the T-shirt, obsessed with just this NFL thing, this Washington thing, and I had to follow it on. I don't know if do you guys remember CFAX?
Yeah.
So all I could get was the results. I think we only had 4 channels probably at the time. I think maybe Tony Wheat had said that maybe the games were being shown in the UK about that time. I don't personally remember that.
I think it was on Channel 4, wasn't it? I think Channel 4.
Yeah, so I can remember it starting Channel 4, but I don't really. I'd be like, I think I can remember it, but I know it's just because I've seen it so many times on clips that So 83, just after they won in 83, and there was a newspaper called First Down, which I think came out on a Thursday.
That's right.
And I was obsessed. 10 years old, bang. Mum would go in and get it for me, First Down newspaper, Art Monk on the front sometimes, all this, because obviously we were good.
Yeah.
Following year, obviously we went to the Super Bowl again, lost to the Raiders, and just literally followed it on CFAX. There wasn't any way that I had really to follow it. I didn't know anybody else. I didn't know anyone else that was remotely interested. I think probably the big thing that happened in this country was the 85 Bears. And all of a sudden people were interested. But they were sort of interested in this 85 Bears, William the Fridge Perry.
Yeah, I remember him playing for the London Monarchs. Yeah.
And So all of a sudden, people were talking about it, but they didn't know anything about it. Like, I was into it. I was trying to talk about positions and quarterback and plays, and basically they knew who the fridge was. That was it. And all the girls had their fake Dan Marino tops because they all like Dan Marino. But you know, the 80s at that time, sort of 85, I guess, was just bigger and better. Madonna, Michael Jackson, Prince, Miami Vice, all the blockbusters, Rocky IV, you know, everything was bigger and better. The music, the films, the TV shows were all American. It was like a bit of a wonderful place from this side of the Atlantic. So we then kept following it sort of with First Down as I remember it, CFAX, and Channel 4 would show games. Not obviously always Washington. But my favourite season was the 87 season, the strike season. So I don't know if you would even remember that. You probably know about it.
Yeah, we know about it.
But I'm sure, and I haven't really had time to fact check this, but I'm willing for anybody who listens to say, oh, he hasn't quite got that right. But I am sure they went on strike. So you had to get players from anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we took a quarterback out of prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
Called Robinson or Robson. And we took him out of prison. I don't know how. He then plays and we win loads of games. I'm not quite sure how many. He was thrown to a guy called Anthony Allen who broke loads of receiving records. Then when the strike was over and the players came back, he went back to prison. Done the rest of his time. You think we've got quarterback problems now? I'm sure that so someone out there will just be able to correct me slightly perhaps on that, but I'm sure that's what happened. And he went down to Dallas, and what happened was a number of the clubs, the players broke the strike, but the Washington didn't. We were completely these second-rate players, really, I suppose. And we went down to Dallas, and Dallas had Tony Dorsett playing. He'd come back, he'd broke the line, you know, and he went down and just took them apart, man. And obviously we ended up winning it in 87 with the most fortunate thing ever of 35 points in the second quarter against Elway. So I could go to sleep because I was bloody 13 and trying to stay awake. But it was just the best thing, that second quarter is just the best memory, you know. So now this is really fueling. You know, I've started in 83. We've been to 3 Super Bowls. We've won 2 of them. 35 points in the second quarter. The first black quarterback, Doug Williams. Everything was, you know, rocking and rolling for me. And because they had this kind of, America was rocking and rolling in many ways compared to the UK. The summer of 89, my parents said, we'll have some of that. And we went for 6 weeks to Colorado. Bit of a family reunion again. Same people, but we did 6-7 weeks summer holidays. I was 15. You know, apart from all the things you do on vacation with your family, my auntie tapped me on the shoulder and said, right, get up early tomorrow. We're off to Mile High Stadium, pre-season friendly. So pre-season, John Elway. So not Washington but John Elway, megastar. Who's he playing? Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and the 49ers. So I'm 15 years old and I'm watching Montana hit Rice in the first quarter because they didn't play the whole game. In this packed, I don't know if it was sold out, but to me it seemed packed, Mile High Stadium, this sort of bastion of NFL. And I'd only been following it 5 years and I'm thinking, brilliant. I mean, I had a foam finger, you know, waving it around and all this sort of thing. And, you know, it was just a fantastic memory of the NFL. It wasn't Washington, that particular game, but that year, those 2 teams then went to the Super Bowl. So it was like I'd seen them pre-season friendly, but I'd seen them in the August and thought the 49ers put 55 points on Denver that year at the Super Bowl. But Montana to Rice, I couldn't find anyone who was even remotely impressed with that, not even know who they were. But as the years go by, I feel I'm glad I saw that.
Yeah, that's a memory and a half, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We then, I sort of carried on, and it was getting Channel 4, still CFAX as I remember it, first day newspaper. Obviously, one of the things that I've enjoyed experiencing from having supported them for that long was the 91-92, the year we won against the Bills in the Super Bowl. That 91 team was a team. I mean, I think you'd probably have an argument for top 10 all time. Even other teams would probably put.
I think they were actually rated number 1, actually.
I mean, they
of all time.
The posse of wide receivers.
91.
Yeah,
it was a proper team, and they just, they were never. As I remember it, again, somebody might correct me. It used to be a bit, whichever team went 8-0, 9-0, whoever lost last in the regular season just won the Super Bowl. They might be somebody out there might be able to prove me wrong, but it's not like that anymore. But it used to be, and the 91 team was. I think had they want to go undefeated, they could have done probably. I mean, I think you just start slacking off a little bit, don't you, when you're 14-2 or whatever, and you lose a couple. But they were a fantastic team. But then the following year, as I remember it, again, I haven't had a fact check this, so somebody might be able to prove me wrong. But I'm sure that team then was the team that came to Wembley for one of the early Wembley pre-season games. And then, so I went to that, 19 years old, on my own, brilliant. Who we playing? Montana and Rice and the 49ers again.
You got a thing about Montana and Rice, haven't you?
So my first 10 years, I've seen Montana throw to Rice in 2 different games, one in the States, pre-seasons, but it was just infectious, really. And by that time, people were interested in the sport in this country. There were more people sort of getting involved and understanding it better and liking it properly. So it was sort of 9 years there, a span of absolute, 3 Super Bowls, although I missed the very first one, really. 3 Super Bowls, 4 Super Bowls. We lost to the Raiders, obviously, in one. I've been to Mile High Stadium with some proper players and some proper teams, Then our 91 team, which was, as Scouse just said, possibly the best team around for a bit. Certainly, I think you are top 10 now. And they then came to Wembley, and I've get to see them live. It's just fantastic. I was 19. I'm now 49, and it feels like we haven't won a game since.
Yeah, there's not much.
It's been, I mean, I've just written down here to remind me that basically, we got a crap owner, bit of a crumbly stadium, although you guys have been there, so I'm not sure that's really fair. Poor attendance in the sense that there was a time you could not get a ticket, and the queue was years. But my first 10 years or so, that's just fantastic. I couldn't believe I was involved in this thing, and it felt like a secret because no one else really cared or knew. I didn't know anyone who knew. And then, since then, Washington haven't really perhaps done anything. I then you went to Wembley when it was the Bengals.
Yeah, I didn't get a ticket for that. You went, didn't you, Scouse? Yeah.
I went there, and then generally I'm too scared to mention it because Burrows goes mental about the kicker.
D-Hop. About
I
D-Hop,
love Burrows. Yeah, but he's right. I mean, it was just all this time for a genuine game. And it's a bloody tie. What's going on, man?
It's Jay Gruden's fault. Fucking icing her own kicker.
It's
an idiot.
Mental. But there you go. And it's just been garbage really ever since. So from 19 to 49, you get through life, don't you? 3 kids.
Yeah.
Wife. Moving on. And I didn't lose interest. I always sort of followed it, but I wasn't crazy following it. Because it's just loss after loss after loss. Still enjoyed it. Still tried to keep up with the news. But then what happened recently are the podcasts. Burrows, what did Prime Minister Burrows, he started with Washington podcast or something?
Yeah, DC Tweet Team he started with.
DC Tweet Team.
Yeah.
And I sort of listen to podcasts maybe at night, going to sleep or whatever, and I stick them on. And that fella just got me enthusiastic for it again. I wanted to listen to him. I didn't agree with everything, but I wanted to listen.
Nobody agrees with Burrows, mate. Nobody.
And then, and then you guys turned up, and a few of the others that I don't know the names of, and it just infused me into getting properly back into enjoying the sport again. Really, the USA podcasts, there's numerous ones, but I found that I was really impressed with the UK guys, yourself included, about the knowledge. It wasn't, if you listen to an American podcast on our football, some of them are good. Often they don't really perhaps know the ins and outs of it. But the Washington podcasts in the UK, they understand the game. They take the Americans on the tire with the knowledge and just, but the Burgundy Zone I love.
Yeah, I like Kyle and the boys over there.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Bleeding.
Bleeding Burgundy.
That is
Jesse and the boys. I'm on there every week now.
In fact, I went through a phase recently where Scouts seemed to be on every podcast I was bloody listening to.
But well, what can I say, bro? What can I say?
Yeah. But I just, it just infused me again and gave me memories really of what I'd experienced my first 10 years of following the sport, and when we had all that success and having the luck to perhaps go and see a John Elway in a stadium. Most of the people I knew never been to America, let alone done that.
What do you think the hardest thing that you've found then being a fan abroad's been over the time?
Well, it's easy now, really. The difficult thing was I remember us having it 4 channels. I don't know if that's really true. 83, 84.
I remember when I was a kid, and my story. My brother's like 13 years older than me.
Yeah.
But obviously when we were trying to listen to games, like basically he was trying to listen to it on long wave radio. Remember long wave?
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
Sound. That's all you ever hear. It's like, oh wow, what's going on? And we were doing that for 4 hours, and like 3 in the morning. Like, fucking hell, what's going on here?
Yeah.
At the time we shared the same room, so it was a nightmare at that point.
Yeah. That was kind of, I suppose, tough, but I didn't see it as tough at the time. I enjoyed it. It's like the thing I did that no one else was really doing that I knew.
So you've got other interests then, Mike. You're a massive Wolverhampton Wanderers fan. We've talked about that a little bit offline there. We always have a bit of banter back and forth. It's good to see someone supporting. I don't know if that is your local team, but it's good to see someone supporting.
No, it was my dad's team.
Fair enough.
So he's to blame for being a Wolves fan and a Washington fan. Not been easy at times.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. Real pain.
Carlisle, Washington, Newcastle Falcons. It doesn't get any easier, mate. Trust me.
My other great love really was Gloucester Rugby.
Yeah.
That's where we did live. And standing in the shed, watching the games. We've got very fond memories of the rugby.
Yeah, my only memory of the shed, I went with my dad, and he'll tell you as well, was for 80 minutes solid, I got totally not obliterated, but the banter was very, very strong from Gloucester fans. And then as soon as the whistle went, it was just like we'd never even spoke. He just turned around to me and said, "Sorry about that, mate. I just get a bit passionate." That's fine.
It was good. I preferred it probably. It's going to sound a bit old-fashioned, but when it was amateur, because even the linesman was a cheat. It's proper. Like your local rugby club is the same thing, but just with a bigger crowd. I enjoyed that.
Do you have an all-time Washington favourite player then, Mike?
So probably going back, Darrell Green, Art Monk, Dexter Manley. They were the ones I remember. Charles Mann. They were the ones. Joe Theismann, of course, until he got hurt. I can still remember. I didn't see it happen, but I can remember that in the news that I was looking at. So all those players, Doug, and then obviously Doug Williams, the quarterbacks as a kid, I enjoyed that.
I was lucky to get a picture with him when I was over there. Good old Doug.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Mark Rippon, the quarterback, I remember him quite vividly. Probably this, if I was correct about the lad coming out of prison and going back in, he'll be a cult hero forever. I think his name was Robinson. I can't remember. And then sort of more recently, modern day, I love Tress Way. I don't know where we'd be without him.
MVP for about 4 years, man.
He's unbelievable.
Been our best player.
He's just a dude. He's just an absolute.
He's so chilled, isn't he? He's so chilled out as well. Just like, whatever, bro.
Easy to say the running back, the quarterback.
Dude.
They're all great on. The running back. He was the running back we had this year. Is that Robinson?
Yeah, Brian Robinson. Yeah, Brian Robinson this year, and Antonio Gibson.
Good players and all that. But Tress Way, I tell you, love it. Love the way come on, punt, 4-yard line, sit back down. Yeah. So
you can't get up and go to the loo while the special teams are on. That's for sure. You can't do that now.
No.
Well, thanks for telling us your story, Mike. Really appreciate you being on with us.
No worries. A bit long-winded.
Not at all. Stick around with us, and we'll see the show out with you. Cool. We'll move on to then my favourite segment of the show, which is always a bit of a winner. It's the point where Scouse has a little bit of a rant for us. It is Scouse's sizzle. What's your sizzle this week, Scouse?
Well, it's about the reaction to Ron Rivera, really, when he was playing golf recently at Pebble Beach, as people were saying. Oh, how dare he play golf? How dare he do this when we've got no offensive coordinator in place? Mate, can't anybody have a day off? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on? I can't believe some of the people I read on Twitter are like, what are you? What is your game? These guys do work literally 13, 14, 15 hours a day trying to sort something out, trying to game plans, installations, all sorts of shit that we don't even know about. And he finally has a day off, and you start ripping him, saying he's not interested, he's not doing his job. Mate, come on, come on. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on.
Do you find you went over there the first game? I don't know whether you really got a reflection on this, but do you find Twitter's a fair reflection on how everybody feels at the stadium, or is it just the Twitter people, which I'm one of?
It's just the Twitter people. It is literally 2% of our fan base.
Right. Yeah.
So if you think about it, I mean, this is no disrespect to our older generation of fans. They're not on there. People who are attending with the families tend not to be on there. No. You're always going to find something who has a moan. I mean, a wise person just always said to me, just scroll on. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect your life. I mean,
nobody hates Washington fans more than Washington fans.
Correct.
Nobody hates Wolves fans more than Wolves fans. It's just, but that's Twitter, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah, that's the nail on the head.
Shout loudest, isn't it? It's the one who shouts loudest on Twitter most of the time. I mean, as I say, I just think these guys need to get a grip.
It's hard.
Twitter it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's great for networking, don't get me wrong, but
it's hard to follow Twitter when the game's on, isn't it? And you might find it.
Oh yeah, I hardly use Twitter at that time.
If you just had Twitter, you wouldn't have any reflection of how the game was going, would you?
No.
Because there's always something. Even if you see an amazing play, somebody call out something that was shit on that play, and you're thinking, was it a good play? Was it not?
Let Ron play golf. Let
Ron play golf, man. And he plays like a 7 handicap or something. He's really good.
Yeah. A lot of business gets done on the golf course.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
You never know. Anthony Lynn might be there right now playing golf. Who knows?
Was that not what the whole thing was about? He drove 2 hours and then interviewed Anthony Lynn. I mean,
I don't know actually.
I think that was actually what it was.
Where's Pebble Beach? Because I know Ron is Californian, but Ron's Californian himself, though, isn't he? So. Yeah. Might just be
it's the off season. He's entitled to a break. Yeah. It's a long time.
He doesn't need to be at these bowls. Is it the Senior Bowl that's on at the moment? Is it the Senior Bowl?
Senior Bowl's on this weekend. Yeah, Shrine Bowls. I think was last week.
Obviously, there's a few guys that we see on Twitter that are actually there, aren't they? Kind of like looking at the new prospects and stuff. But Ron has never been there in his whole career. So forget like that. He's just skipped out this year's and he's not been in to see the players or
never goes.
blah 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 blah. He never goes.
Right.
He just goes off his actual what the scouts tell him basically with them. So so it's nothing different for him. He's doing nothing out the ordinary what he normally wouldn't do or would do. So just leave him be, man.
Yeah.
As long as he gets it right, I don't give a shit. But again, he needs to get it right because his ass is on the hot seat right now. Do you know what I mean? So
it is indeed. Well, we'll move on then to our final segment then, because we haven't got much to discuss because there's no game up this weekend. We're not going to discuss the Pro Bowl and this flag game that they've got going on.
Flag football.
It's just ridiculous. But, I mean, that hasn't been the same for 15, 20 years. But
it's all this player safety crap, isn't it? Let's face it. At the end of the day, if you're playing football, you know what you're signing up for at the end of the day. You know it's a physical game. If you want to play in the Pro Bowl, great. If you don't, fake some injury or something, that's fine. Do you know what I mean? If you're a guy who's actually been selected and lucky not to be selected, why don't you just fake an injury? Say, oh yeah, pull an hammy, can't play, whatever. Because nobody gives a shit. Because it's for them, it's all about getting the big bonuses. At the end of the day, if you get a Pro Bowl selection, you're either going to get a massive contract, especially like i.e. Devon Payne that we could mention. He's now Pro Bowler because Donald's out, so he's going to start. He's going to play, so his stock is going higher. So his wages are going to be higher in this next contract. But most people don't give a shit about it. But that's that's a bargaining tool, a leverage piece. Do you know what I mean? So, but these guys don't want to play it. They're just fucking around, and that's why they've changed it now to flag football because like, well.
It was getting. I mean, the last few years, it was getting ridiculous. People weren't even tackling. It was just.
I remember the Sean Taylor hit on that kick.
I do.
So the punter was it? The punter.
It was the punter.
He tried to take a punter run. I think he messed up the snap and he thought, "I'll run with this," and he ended him. Do you know what I mean? Like
he laid the wood that night.
He laid the wood on him, and the guy's like, "Oh, he still actually got his own jersey." I watched the documentary, and that
Yeah.
The actual punter said, "Yeah, I've still got the jersey. See this red mark on this jersey. He showed me his jersey on this thing, and it's got Sean Taylor's obviously like paint from his head, from his actual on this jersey. He's still got worn up on his wall.
Wow.
He took an absolute pounding with that hit.
God bless Sean Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. As I say, he took it serious. You know what I mean? No matter what game he was playing, and that's why people can relate to him. That's why people love him.
Exactly.
Besides him being good, a great player.
We'll review these games. We'll review these games then. The championship games, the NFC Championship and the AFC Championship. So I don't know if you boys watched it. I try to watch as much as I possibly could. The Eagles and the 49ers. It ended 31-7 to the Eagles. Massive blowout. Huge problems for the 49ers, obviously at quarterback, especially with Brock Purdy getting a UCL injury to his elbow, and then. Obviously, Josh Johnson came in and just, the less said about that, the better. Really.
But the thing is, though, who do you blame for that? Do you blame the offensive line for that? Do you blame the scheme? Do you play the play calling? Or do you just play, just blame...
I think it was just...
Or do you blame the new rules? You're going to forget the new rules now are all about players who can't tackle a quarterback. So what did he do? He aim for the arm nowadays? So that's why Purdy's arm was smashed back, and he ripped his, tore his ligament off the bone. Basically, they're saying that's why he couldn't throw the ball.
Yeah, they're saying it might be.
6 months out, he is.
No, keep going. The latest I've heard is it's a year.
A year because he needs surgery. He needs full surgery. He needs surgery.
Full surgery.
See what I mean?
Full surgery. Yeah.
So I think I tweeted out at the time. I think an actual quarterback would actually take a concussion over an injury like that. A year-long injury on the throwing elbow and the throwing arm.
3 weeks out instead, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have 3 weeks, a month, something like that, and you're back. He's out for a year. I mean, it's so it's the problem with trying to help with quarterback safety and hitting guys and all this shit. Just let the guys play, man. Let the guys play.
I think once that injury happened to Purdy in the game, you kind of knew exactly where this was going. I mean, it was already starting to become a bit of an Eagles blowout, which I did not expect at all. I really thought we had shown the blueprint. I mean, we are still the only team to beat Jalen Hurts.
And nobody's even attempted it.
No
one's
even attempted to do it the same way. Is it boring? Yeah, but it won. It's winning football. No. I don't understand why nobody else tried it. We can outsmart them. We can do this. No, the Eagles have the best overall team in the NFL. The strength and depth everywhere. They are that good. What you got to do is do what we did. And no one wanted to do that. I thought the 49ers would be the perfect team to be able to do it. And I thought the Giants as well a few weeks back. But because they're like a run team first. Do you see what I mean? I thought that'd be perfect. No. Try to outsmart themselves. Then Purdy gets injured early on. And that was just the end. Because Josh Johnson, let's face it. Yeah. Josh Johnson, he played for us. Don't forget how bad this dude is.
Yeah.
We know how bad he is. We know how bad he is. So as soon as he came in, we thought it's all over anyway. And then he gets knocked out with a concussion. So it was all over then. I mean, it was.
I thought at one stage we're going to get.
I fell for them, but
they were going to get McCaffrey to start throwing passes at one stage. I was thinking, what is going on here? It just, a bit of a blowout.
But what would you have done there, though? Would you have been like, okay, let's see what CMC can do throwing the ball? Don't forget, he has thrown for touchdown this year, by the way, even though he's not a quarterback.
He's got 2 in his career, hasn't he?
2 in his career, and 1 was this year for Carolina. And it's like, well, at least you got a slight chance of it being a throw and play. But when Purdy came back in with his ripped up elbow, he wasn't throwing the ball ever.
No, you can just contain
every play was a run play. Every play was a run
contain.
Play. So just run straight into it. For me, they've been like, let's see what CMC's got, see if we can throw it. What else are you going to lose? You're getting smoked anyway. Why not?
49ers just blew it.
They did.
Yeah.
End of it.
They certainly did, yeah. Moving on then to the Chiefs and the Bengals. Very close game in the end. 23-20 to the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes on one leg. Looked like the ankle injury really didn't bother him as much as we thought it was bothering him. We talked about on our last show that on Wednesday, I saw him last week on Wednesday at a press conference. He looked like he was doing warm-ups quite well, which is really surprising considering, high ankle sprain is 6 weeks on average, 4 to 6 weeks, isn't it? They normally say that you're going to be out for as a minimum. He had a really, really good game. And again, this is one, do you blame the refs? There's a lot of talk about the refs at the minute. There's a lot of talk about the NFL scripted and they get a script at the beginning of the season. Jesus, if it's scripted, we've had 20 years of absolutely shite scripts, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not a different playwriter.
Really definitely. The conspiracy theories, I just don't think.
But the thing is, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist sometimes, but it's like, what happened to the main referee? His son put a massive bet on the Chiefs to win. And all of a sudden, these dodgy decisions happening. Oh, come on.
Yeah, that sort of thing doesn't help. Yeah.
And especially referees are only part-timers. They should be full-time refs. They shouldn't be
I agree with that.
No. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Have all the money in the game.
All that money in the game. Why aren't they pros?
And I do think there needs to be some sort of better... Not like video technology, if you like, or I know they've got chips in the balls and they've had chips in the balls for the last 5 years, which I didn't actually know about until recently, that they've actually had that technology there. They're obviously not using that to its full degree at the moment, but we can take other sports and we can look at other sports that use video technology. We're not going to implement VAR. That's a certainty because that's just awful. But we do have a TMO in rugby union that is a guy in a truck. I would prefer... a guy in a truck who's a complete non-partisan, independent person.
But isn't that what they've got already? They've got.
Well, they've got that in New York.
These guys.
Yeah, how connected are they to the referees, though? That's the point.
They've got to be connected to the ref at a certain point.
Yeah.
Because you've got to tell them what to do. But it's a hard one because they use video refereeing more than anybody else in any sport.
Yeah, they do.
That's where it came from, wasn't it? Really?
Every play is like, was it a catch? Was it a fumble? Was it this or that? And they're always checking it on the instant replay. I get your point, but it's just like, is there anything? What else can you do better?
Go? Yeah.
Well, and now that betting's getting involved even more legally, you're going to see this more. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Well, this is why I can't understand the conspiracy theorists who are saying it's. Oh yeah, it's scripted, it's conspiracy theory, the refs are against us, it's all about betting. Do you know there's only 17 states that's got legal gambling on sports on the NFL?
Yeah, but what's that? What's that? No, half of Europe.
Yeah, exactly. But next
17 states.
I know, I get that, but what I'm saying, next season it's going to be 47 states.
Okay, well there you go then.
So why would you not wait if you're going to do something like that and you are genuinely going to fix a game? Why wouldn't you do that in the following season? Do you know what I mean? It just makes no sense at all.
Well,
I mean,
to be fair, it still might happen. Do you know what I mean?
It might do. It might do. We're
look at us. I mean, we were celebrating putting in a bloody casino.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We're the first one. We're the first one. FanDuel, I think it is, isn't they? Have opened up, or is it Fanatics? I can't remember.
Might be Fanatics, I think.
Yeah, which betting
Fanatics
site
Sportsbook or something like that.
Yeah,
and he even got Chris on as well, Hog Farmer Chris.
That's right.
Even got him on to actually open it up with them.
So he was the first one to place a bet, I believe.
And he's the fan. And he's the fan. He's the fan of the year, isn't he? And it's just like, come on. If these franchises are actually celebrating this shit, you know for a fact, man, there's going to be some big influence going on. Vegas. That's why he didn't want a Vegas team for such a long time.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want it to be kind of owned by Mafia, basically, originally. Wasn't it? The original Vegas Times.
Yeah.
Well, they've got a team now.
Yeah, I've got a team now. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's an interesting one. So what's
need to sort it out.
What's your thoughts on an Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl then?
I think the Eagles will win it.
Yeah, Eagles Chiefs. You saying Eagles will win it?
I think the Eagles will win it just to annoy me. I don't really have any stats to back it up. The Chiefs are good. I just think the Eagles are going to win it.
Yeah, I still think Kansas City might just squeak it. I don't know how, but it's going to be a tight one. It's going to be a tight one. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game.
Hopefully, it's just a good game, isn't it? You know.
Yeah,
it won't be because it's got the Philly Eagles in it. Let's face it. I mean, you watch that team, it's like, oh, mate, this is load of shit.
I just wanted them on the couch.
I mean, the great team is in a team roster build and stuff, but watching them on the field, man, they're fucking boring.
What's their free agency situation after the Super Bowl?
Their free agency seat is really, really tough. They are in it massively. They've got about 10 people coming up for big contract renewals, and they're not going to do it. They're already minus 50 million Nelly against the cap.
Yeah, I'm not forgetting they are going to struggle. Pay Hurts as well.
So I'm saying they are going to struggle. Yeah. They are really going to struggle to keep a lot of that time. And it's a very similar situation to what we had with the Rams, really. You can say the Rams went all in absolutely on all the picks, threw everything at it to win a Super Bowl, and they've done it. Now you look at the Rams this season, and you look at and you think, they've dropped up enormously. And it wouldn't surprise. I would absolutely. As a Washington fan, I'd take that. Not a problem at all. Yeah. I'm sure Jerry Jones down in Dallas would take that too. But it's
I don't think he would. To be fair, I don't think he could handle going like 3-14. I don't think Jerry Jones could do that. I just don't think he could handle it.
Maybe
I think he'd probably blow up the whole stadium. That's what he'd probably do.
He'll start fixing the games.
Yeah. Maybe. Again. But I definitely get it. I mean, I'd snap the hands off. Someone said to me, "You get one Super Bowl, but you're going to be shit for the next 10." I'd be like, "Sound? I'm used to seeing the shit for the last 30. Do you know what I mean? So bring it.
Is it harder to support Washington now, having gone through the first 10 years that I went through? Or is it harder to support them? I guess I'm not quite sure when everyone started, but I know Prime Minister Burrows always talks about, he started supporting them and then they were rubbish. They've been rubbish ever since.
Yeah, so mine
was harder, or was it harder to have experienced the good times and now you've got to go through the bad times?
Mine was really, really young, so I only started supporting them and pinned my colours to the mast 2012. So, I've had 11 seasons. I was RG That was me then. Yeah. So.
Mine was 91, but I was only 7, 8, so I wasn't really know much about it at that point.
So for me, it's been really difficult, I think, supporting them these times. But now I think it's getting back to the stage where we can see light at the end of the tunnel.
I'd stick my neck out and say I think the next 10 years, maybe not next year, but I think you guys all need to stick at this because the next 10 years is going to be good.
It's going to be all right, yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah,
so do I.
A new owner will come in. He'll have to do something, won't he?
Well, that's always a good owner. Don't forget, we can get any owner in and the shit. Then we got another Dan Snyder. Then we're going to be deviled. Do you know what I mean? So it's
we've got another 10
the right owner.
We'll get you on in 2 years' time, Mike, and we'll have this discussion again and see where we are.
I think the next 10 years could be all right. Maybe maybe not next year, but
I love your optimism.
It doesn't take a lot to, I know it's hard when you haven't won a game in 30 years, but, a lot of teams. I'm sure that at some point San Francisco went 3 and something, and the following year they made the Super Bowl. It was something like that. You can turn it round. I don't know.
But it's been done. It's been done many times.
Bengals.
We won't do that.
Look at the Bengals. They were terrible. Got Joe Burrow in Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But look what they did. Look what they did. They got the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Then he realized he had a shit offensive line. So what did he do? They went out and got 3 offensive linemen that year. Yeah. Then they went, Jamar Chase is up on the board. Bo was begging him to take him rather than taking another offensive lineman. That's what they're going to do. And Bo said to him, no, just give me Chase and we'll be fine. And he goes, you sure? Because obviously you're going to get like these guys running after you. And he goes, yeah, no worries. Gets him in Super Bowl that year. You know, that's, I mean, like when you've got the nucleus of a quality team with superstars.
How many games,
chance, man?
How many games would we have won this year if we'd had a decent offensive coordinator?
Oh.
I mean, how many games?
I think there's 4 games. I think there's 4 games there easily that I could just say we could easily should have won that game. Yeah. So we should be at least 11.
Yeah.
Tennessee
9.
What were we? 8-1. So Tennessee. So Tennessee was a definite one. Minnesota was a definite one. The Giants was a definite one at home.
Definite 2, I think, because
you could argue Giants away as well. There's 4 straight away that you think. And the Browns. You know,
we just didn't show up though for that game. That's what really pissed me off about that one. You know, they didn't show up for the game.
That game was terrible, but the second New York Giants game, just we had so long to prepare, be ready for them, get it right. Just disaster, isn't it?
It just shows that there was obviously some unrest in the camp because these guys weren't playing. These guys weren't playing at the level that you think, well, if you win this game, we're more than likely going to be in the playoffs. Because
we were on a roll then.
Or something.
We were on a serious roll. Yeah.
So why? So I don't understand. I just don't understand why we just didn't show up in any of those games.
Well, Washington.
3 games there we didn't show up, and then the Titans game we should have won, but that was piss poor, piss poor by Carson Wentz. Asked him to throw the ball 3 times. We didn't need to.
So with no decent quarterback, no decent guy calling the plays, and we still won 8 games.
Yeah, I like your optimism here, Mike. I like your optimism.
I've been saying that for 30 years, mind. You know, there is a chance if somebody can just sort it out. A better man than me, but somebody can just sort it out and win 10 games, and then sort it out and win 12. And 3 years
going to be next season.
You're in it, aren't you?
Yeah, you are. You're right.
Ain't going to be next season, though, mate. And this is the problem we've got because the schedule next year is ridiculous.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Why all the elite quarterbacks again, like the year before last? You know, got hammered then as well.
Yeah.
It's not good, man. It's not good.
Well, I think that just about wraps us up, really. So thank you again, Mike, for being on with us. We really appreciate you being on it.
I appreciate you inviting me, guys.
Not a problem.
Really enjoyed the podcast.
Do you want to plug your Twitter handle just for people who aren't following you? Because you probably will get quite a few subs. I
think my Twitter handle is Mike Allen, ALLAN, and then 9999 for some reason. I don't know.
Big fan of police, yeah.
Yeah, it's at Mike Allen, ALLAN 9999. Well done. Okay.
So and anybody can follow and you know, most of my tweets are garbage, but I do enjoy the Washington podcast. I tweet about that, and you guys have given me enthusiasm for the game again. So appreciate it, boys.
Appreciate you for being on here.
Yeah.
No worries.
And as always, Scouse, thanks again for being on with us. I love chopping it up with you for a good hour or so, mate. So thank you for being with us, and we will catch you all again next week. Thanks, everybody.